So my name is Cheyenne, and so we have a guest. Welcome to the Hilltoppers Club. Generally this meeting will have 3 sections. We did not have prepared speeches tonight, but generally it will be prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. So at this time, just since we have a guest, we'll just explain each rule. So our guest will know kind of the flow of the meeting. So we have the timer.
I'm the timer. My role as timer is to monitor the prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation. At the end of the meeting, I will report the time to each participant. This will let you know if you deliver the presentation within your allotted amount of time. And prepared speeches, which we don't have tonight, would be 5 to 7 minutes. In 5 minutes, I would have the green light, or up to 5 minutes, you see the green light, and at 6 minutes, show the red light, a yellow light, and the red light at 7. The evaluation would be 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes, green light, 2.5 minutes, the yellow light, and at 3 minutes, the red light. More importantly, they will only have table topics, it looks like, and they'll be 1 to 2 minute speeches. And at 1 minute, I'll have green, 1.5 yellow, and at 2 red.
All right, thank you. And next are all counter and grammarian.
My name's Don. I'll be the grammarian for tonight, and the job as grammarian is to look for positive and negative uses of the English language. And I will also introduce the word of the day, which is cantankerous. I'll give the definition and read that in a second. And the third thing is the I counter, which will be looking for filler words. Ahs, so's, likes, whatever is being used as a crutch word. At the end of the night, I'll come up with a count of those to see how all that adds up. So cantankerous means disagreeable to deal with, contentious, argumentative. And used in a sentence, the most dangerous animal to encounter when walking, I discovered, is not a lion, but a cantankerous male buffalo. And it is an adjective.
All right, thank you. And the general evaluator.
Hi, so my name's Justin, and the general evaluator runs the evaluation portion of the meeting, introduces the speech evaluators, the counter, the grammarian, and the timer, and then provides a general overall evaluation of the meeting. So.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, the table topics master.
I'm the table topics master for tonight, and it is my role to come up with interesting topics to ask my fellow Toastmasters to come up and talk about for a few minutes. It's kind of an impromptu speaking session. So as a guest, feel free to join. You can see us go through a couple. And this is going to, since we don't have speakers tonight, we're going to fill that time with table topics, so it's going to be a little bit longer. So everybody should have a chance to go. And you don't have to, but if you'd like to, feel free to join. And that's the table topics master role.
All right, thank you. And since we do not have any speeches, I would like to relinquish the lectern to the table topics master.
All right, do I have a volunteer for the first table topics? Question. Don, feeling brave today?
Well, I was at a brother's wedding over the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of us. So there's 2 other brothers. I get married, me and another, and it was a toss-up. I thought originally he was going to do the best man speech. So it was an impromptu best man speech with 150 people. I got up there and I was like, give me the mic. And I was like, well, Toastmasters, coming through. And I was in there, I was like, I'll say ums and ahs, and she's going. So it worked out fine.
Oh, that's great. Good for you.
Until he gives me a hard question.
All right, so question 229 from this list. What's your favorite true story that you enjoy sharing with others?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. favorite true story that I can tell. Inevitably, it always goes back to one of my two children, and it's a funny story. We went camping. We're in Panama City Beach at St. Andrews Park. I was on an early morning training run that morning, and approximately about 4 miles away from the campsite, all by myself, very early morning. And as I'm running, I noticed in the peripheral of my vision someone coming from an entrance road at my right. I looked, did a double check. It was my son, who at the time was 7, coming from an empty parking lot at the beach. And he pulls up beside me as I'm running, stunned to see what he's doing 4 miles away from camp by himself. And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I went to the beach." I said, "Where's your mother and sister at?" "Well, they're at the campground." I said, "How'd you get out here?" He said, "I rode my bike. I'm on my bike." I said, "Well, how'd you even find a place?" He said, "Well, I got lost and I had to stop at a store, ask for directions, and the lady told me it was this way." I said, "Oh my goodness." And then he just promptly left me after that and said, "Last one's a redneck." And so when I got back to the camp, I said, "Do you know where your son's at?" She said, "Yeah, he's right over there." I said, "Now he was at the beach." So long story short, he's going to be the end of me.
Thank you, Don. Great story. All right, who else would like to volunteer? Cheyenne. All right. Where do you find peace?
Fellow Toastmasters, on guess, I've been asked a question, where do I find peace? I feel like this is a two-part question because peace can come in different forms. We're talking about overall life peace or the day-to-day peace, relaxation from a difficult day. So I'll answer the latter and maybe I'll get to both. But every day I have a stressful job. I'm in social work. So I have to make sure that I take time each day to relax and unwind and bring it back to 0 before the next day because we have chaos every single day. So some ways that I do that, I'm involved in extracurricular activities like Toastmasters. I like to paint, I do watercolor, drawing, I work on comedy, I say the word, I just have a multitude of activities like that that help me come back to peace every day. Overall life peace, I think one thing that brings me peace in general is knowing that I'm a person that believes in God, and one thing that brings me peace is knowing that ultimately He has control and it's not up to me. He has it in His hands and it'll be taken care of despite my efforts. So that's the life peace question. So thank you.
Let's go then.
So you're not going to throw a question out there first, huh? You're just going to have someone.
No.
I'll go.
What small act of kindness were you once shown that you will never forget?
Thanks, Cody. Fellow Toastmasters guests, Cody has asked me to talk about an act of kindness that I was shown that I will never forget. My stalling tactic didn't work. I hope that has something by the time I got up here. An act of kindness. I know there's one out there, but I'm not coming up with one right now.
No, that's the word.
Let's see. Well, okay, I'll mention one. This one's pretty intense, but I've started to talk about it, so I'll go ahead and see it through. I have a younger sister, and she have a problem with alcohol. She's now been sober for 5 years. I just got her 5-year-ship. And as part of Alcoholics Anonymous, you do service. So one of the things that she has been doing is going to a prison and supporting women who are in an alcohol treatment program inside the prison. And she had related some of those stories with me about those women and their experiences and what they're going through. And I mean, for me, that is the last environment I would want to go into. It would be real stressful for me just to deal with something like that. And the fact that she's putting herself out there and doing that and serving the community in that way in a very difficult circumstance, to me is pretty amazing and a sign of all the progress that she's made.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, that was a tough question. That's a good answer. All right, I'd like to go. All right, page 1. What would you do differently if you knew nobody would judge you?
Fellow Toastmasters honored guests, the question posed to me is, what would I do differently if I knew no one would judge me? The thing that I would do differently if no one would judge me is I'd be cantankerous and bad. Just kidding. But I guess with that question in mind, it sounds like I would do something that I would otherwise be ashamed to do. That's what that question kind of implies to me. But I don't know anything specific. Well, there's a bunch of specific things that you could think of if you were in a judge-free zone. But personality-wise, I'm more introverted. And I'm less talkative in certain situations. So one thing I would say, not necessarily in the line of being cantankerous, but I would be bold in areas where I wouldn't be bold. Sorry that wasn't specific. For example, I'll give you an example. If I see someone who I admired, I would be more, I guess I would be more bold in expressing myself, where otherwise I wouldn't be. So I guess that's one thing where I would do if I wouldn't be judged at it, Mr. Toastmaster.
I got what you were saying.
Yes.
I'm an introvert as well. Sometimes there's some things that I just hold back that maybe
Yes.
I would say if I knew I wouldn't get judged for it. I'd like to go. Jeremy? This one's always fun. If you could live the next 24 hours, then erase it and start over just once, what would you do?
Part 2 of that question.
Thanks.
What number is that?
Oh, it's 23. Okay, the question is, if you could live the next 24 hours and erase it and start over just once, what would you do? I would probably run out of this room and go to town and run around and just maybe get on an airplane. I have 24 hours, so I'd probably. Oh wow! I could just erase it. I could probably go tell a lot of people, like, who I really think of. I'd probably take a lot of risk, you know. If I could erase it, I could go skydiving and climb a mountain and try rock climbing and do all sorts of dangerous things. And maybe I go fly an airplane myself, you know, if I could just erase in case I crashed and didn't, you know. Hopefully I would be able to erase it if I'm still not alive. So there's just endless options. But yeah, I think that overall, that's the overall idea. If I could do anything, I would just be a little more risky and just physically risky, you know, just do more things that would be dangerous to do otherwise. And that's about it, though.
I can just see like a movie with a 24-hour countdown. He's trying to do as much as he can.
Jump out the window and take off.
All right, who would like to go next? Bottom? All right. Go to the back. What things in life should always be free?
My question is, what things in life should always be free? I would say love, I would say different things, but the main thing is what's inside of you. It's mainly about what's inside of you should be free out of any regret that you would make. You would actually be a little risky, be a little daredevil, but sometimes you can't be so cantankerous about that. Because if you do, you would question yourself, like, is this what you think what freedom is really about? And freedom is an act of being free. And being free is a way of expressing yourself. Thank you.
If you'll make it easy, I'll go.
Okay, I'll let's see. Find one of the, usually the ones that are marked. Okay.
No, maybe not make it 5 minutes.
1 minute.
Oh, was it 1 minute?
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes.
1 minute and then 1:30.
It's a lot of minutes now. I'm just kidding. Okay, this is a good one. Where would you most like to go and why?
Thank you. The question presented to me is where I would like to go and why. That is a very hard question. I like to go to Lake Tahoe. I think it's the most beautiful place I've ever been, and I have been. That's where Sonny Bono died, and I guess if you're gonna die, that'd be the place to die. But not that I would go there to die. That would be the top of my list. I would like to visit several countries in Africa. I'm fluent with Islam, the study of, or like I'm a Christian, but I have studied Islam, and I think it's very neat how that the country, or the whole continent, is. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming up here as a guest. It's always tough, but it gets easier each practice. Okay, I can do one if somebody will just give me a number.
301.
301.
What I was gonna pick.
Like you memorize this one. 301, okay. What are the top 3 qualities you look for in a friend? So, if I was given the task to go out and search for a new best friend, these are the things that I would look for. So I like someone with a good sense of humor. Typically, my friends are not too serious, can joke around. I like someone that's kind of interested in similar things to me, usually nerdy things because I am an engineer. So someone that can carry on an intellectual conversation is a plus. So I guess that would be So good sense of humor, someone that's intellectual and curious, I guess, as well about science and physics and technology, and is someone that's just an all-around kind and good person. I think those three qualities, I would get along with them, and they would make a good friend. Thank you. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
The speeches.
Yeah. All right, Cheyenne, you want to pick a number? We'll do that. No?
Yeah, let's switch
You
right.
want to pick something?
302.
You have to filter that list. 'Cause
So we're like, confess your darkest sin. Like,
Yes.
Big card and social security number. Like,
And when you get up there, it just all comes out.
what happens in the attic stays in the attic.
Yeah.
Cut that out of the film.
No reason to end it.
If you. Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Nobody watching. Including us. Okay. If you could relive yesterday, what would you do differently?
no one else.
Start my speech. If you could relive yesterday. I feel like I may be the only one in this room, but Game of Thrones episode 1, season 8 happened yesterday, and if I could watch it again for the first time, it was so great. I won't spoil it. I see you have one fan. If I could just relive it. A lot of people are saying they were disappointed in the episode, but I would say they're wrong. If I could relive, not yesterday, well, I did binge watch a lot of it yesterday. Just watching it again from the beginning. I mean, I could do that, but that's a lot of time. I can't watch things more than once. But just reliving that and seeing it again for the first time, because it's so neat to see. I haven't read the books, but I've heard what the books are. Just to see the book story come to life in movie or show form. If I could relive yesterday, I would definitely get to watch that first episode again for the first time. So it was I think it was a peace before the calm before the storm, before everything goes down. Thank you. I've never seen it. Don't watch it with your children.
All right. Still probably got time to go around again. 6 more minutes. All right, Don. What's the biggest lie you once believed was true?
You shouldn't watch Game of Thrones.
Hello everybody, fellow Toastmasters and guests. What is the biggest lie that I once thought was true? One that comes right to my mind, and I'm not really sure if it's a lie, but we're going to go with it anyway. Maybe it's because it's probably more of a misunderstanding than anything else. It usually directly relates to money and happiness. Do you need money to be happy, or can you have a job that's low paying and that you like it? I was always told that you don't really need a whole lot of money to be really happy, but I feel like it kind of helps when you can actually support yourself and your family a little bit better. I think that lends itself to a little bit more happiness. So I think if you can find what you like to do, what makes you happy, and be able to support yourself at the same time, I think think that's just a double bonus, but I'm not sure if I've figured out whether that's a complete lie or not, but I'm working on it.
So Don, if you could solve that problem, you could reach your goal, because it would make you a lot of money. So, you solve that problem for us.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I think you're always kind of finding that
balance.
of, time, do I have passion for this work? And then, of course,
Mhm.
what's my marketability? Am I getting paid what I think I
Right.
should get paid? Okay, who'd like to go next? Maurice. Some of these are pretty crazy. What are your top 5 personal values?
Top 5 personal values.
Oh, that's hard.
You can cut it.
Fellow Toastmasters owner guests, the question posed to me are what are my 5 top values? 5 happiness, 4 happiness, 3 happiness, 2 happiness, and 1 happiness. I'll get at least 3 if I don't get 5. Happiness is one of them, not in any particular order, but top 5. Honesty, integrity. Don't know how much that's distinguished from honesty. But yeah, there's a little distinction between integrity and honesty. That's at least 3, but I think I can squeeze 1 or 2 more. Sensibleness, or sensibility, and okay, happiness, honesty, integrity, sensibility. Oh, that falls under happiness, I guess. A desire for knowledge, whatever that is, learning, whatever word falls, covers that, Mr. Top Master.
Thank you, Maurice. See, you're able to come up 5. All right, you got time for 2 more.
I'll give it another shot.
All right, Justin. What would your priceless MasterCard style commercial be?
Yeah.
Thanks, Cody. So Cody has asked me to talk about what my priceless MasterCard commercial would be. I guess that needs to tie back to my personal interests, the things that I enjoy doing. There'd be some flashy commercial of me doing whatever activities I like to do that would be very dramatic. So I think it would probably be some sort of a water sports thing. It'd be a windsurfing or a sailing thing, and it'd show me, driving a boat, sailboat, and it'd be very windy, beautiful ocean, big waves, and there'd be a race with lots of other boats in close quarters, and I'd be ahead of them all. And then, at the end of the day, I'd buy a round of drinks for all my crew at the bar, and that would be a MasterCard fellow, or Mr. Topics Master.
That was a very descriptive picture. I can imagine. It's a great commercial. They should put that on TV. Okay. What book has been the greatest influence on your life?
I honestly, I'll say I haven't really, I wasn't a big reader, like as a kid growing up. I probably read like small books and just like whatever it was required in school, basically what was forced upon me. One of the first books that I read, I don't remember exactly which one it was of the series, but it was one of the books is Prince Caspian and the Sea, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Chronicles of Narnia, that series. And I think the reason it would be the most influential would be the fact that I read it just for the pure pleasure of reading. And I was a young, pretty young, so I think it was just pretty much the books that opened me up to doing it rather, than more of a hobby than a chore. So that'd probably be the best one I can think of right offhand. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for participating. It's a great table topics. And I will now relinquish the lecture and back over to our Toastmasters.
You don't get to see me for too long because I would like to relinquish the lectern back to the general, or not back to the general evaluator.
Let's begin the evaluation portion of the meeting, and we'll kick it off with a timer's report from Jeremy.
All right. So I have times of table topic for, first one is for Cody, and it's 1 minute and 1 second. I'll go with the first and second of Maurice next. The first would be 2 minutes and 4 seconds. The second was 1 minute and 33 seconds. Don, his first was 1 minute and 29 seconds. His second was 1 minute and 12 seconds. Cheyenne did a 1 minute and 36 second topic speech for the first time, and the second time for 1 minute and 13 seconds. Donovan did 1 minute and 4 seconds. Justin did 1 minute and 47 seconds. And the second was 55 seconds. I did a 1 minute and 30 seconds, the first, and 1 minute and 27 seconds, the second. And I apologize for not remembering the guest name. Tina did 44 seconds for her first. And that would be it.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Don, can we have the grammarian report and the counter report?
Yes, the grammarian report. I didn't notice any abuses of the English language. I did notice 3 uses of the word of the day, and I had full intent to use this word, and I blank each time. So I have Maurice using it twice, and Donovan using it once, and that was cantankerous. And as far as the ums and ah counters, I was marked down for 1. Cheyenne had, over the course of her table topics, 5 various ums, ahs, or so's. Justin had 4, total of 4. Maurice had a total of 3. Jeremy had 8. Tina had 2. And Cody, you had 3 various ums, ahs, so's, likes.
All right. Thank you, Don. I think I won the tally there.
So he won the meeting.
Yeah.
What's that?
He had 8.
Well,
No, me.
there was another, so
You
you
get
can
the bronze.
count one more. We haven't gotten to the rest of general evaluation, so we'll have to count a bit more as I work through that. So the general evaluation, the meeting today started just a little bit late. There were a couple of people that weren't exactly on time to the meeting. I think the treasurer was one of those. Bit of a thin meeting tonight. Is there a game or something?
Break.
Spring break? Okay, that's a good excuse. We got it.
Well, last minute tax desperation.
That's everybody's
Yeah.
right. Throw their taxes on their Game of Thrones. So we didn't have any speeches tonight. Had a nice extended table topic session that Cody handled. He's got a more brutal approach, and he doesn't throw the question out first, so people don't have the opportunity to pick the ones that are easy, that they already have an answer to, and that can lead to awkward pauses up at the podium here. We had one guest attend tonight, so welcome guest, appreciate you joining, and that's great that you got up for a table topic on your first visit. And Cheyenne, I think that's the first time we had an intro song to a table topics speech, so appreciate that, made that interesting. And that was our meeting, was really the table topic session. So I'll hand this meeting back over to our Toastmaster.
Alright, and we have an educational overview. Alright, so we'll turn the lectern over to Mr. Goody to do the educational overview.
So I was flipping through this month's Toastmaster magazine, and I saw a couple interesting tidbits and tips for us. So there's a book I just read towards the beginning of this year. It's called Hyperfocus, and it talks about two types of focus. So when and then here it's very similar. They call it your Einstein window. So this is the time of the day where your peak performance, typically for most people, it's after you've had your morning cup of coffee, kind of between 8 and before lunch. Some people are your night owls, and that's later at night. But whatever that window is, that's when you should eliminate as much distraction as possible and really try to get your best work done. So you can be a lot more productive if you plan these times out. You get all the, handle all the people that might come interrupt you at your desk before, or get out your text or social media, and just focus. Because it takes some people, it takes me about 20 minutes to kind of get into a flow state. And so if you can get into flow during your hyper-focus time, you can really knock out a lot of work and you can be more productive. But there's also the flip side of that. So you have what's called scatter focus in the book, and they call it harmless procrastination. So a lot of people are always filling their time with something, right? Especially with cell phones. I can read this article, I can listen to this book, or I can check my social media status, or somebody's calling you. We're all so busy. We don't really give ourselves time to let our mind wander a little bit. That's where scatter focus comes into play. So a lot of your best ideas, you're riding in the car, maybe you don't turn the radio on, and you're not listening to something, you think of a good idea, or in the shower. It's because you're kind of giving your mind a chance to rest. And what a lot of people don't do is they don't set, time for that. So an actual time where, okay, I'm going to deliberately kind of block out everything. I'm not going to fill my mind with TV or video games or whatever it is, and I'm just going to kind of think and let my mind wander a little bit. So it's kind of interesting because that's the first time I've heard someone recommend doing nothing, really. And you might actually solve a problem that you've been kind of stumbling over, or come up with an idea that might modify your life in a positive way. So those some good tips, and it related back to something I read, so it kind of reinforced it. That is an educational overview for tonight.
And thank you for that. That is, I don't know when any time of the day is a good time for me to focus. I feel distracted literally all the time. So, do not get comfortable. I'd like to welcome back to the lectern the president. Just going for a second.
It's now time to go over the roles for next week. Do we have any volunteers for anything? Any speeches? I tried to write one this week.
Yeah, I'll try again. It's really hard. I mean, that last one, it's number 4 or 5. Because I skipped. Well, it's 5 to 7 minutes on a speech, and then it's up to 3 minutes for questions. But it's speaking to inform. That's the name of the book, and then it is the. I forgot the name of it. It's like a research report or something, because it's so hard that I skipped to number 5 and completed number 5. I had to go back to number 4 to complete that.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm doing the professional speaker book. The first one's like a 20-minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically running a TED Talk thing or something. It's
Yes.
kind of intimidating. I never
Yes.
did it.
I think my last 2 books are going to be real hard if I get to them.
Yeah.
You guys are still on books.
Well, I'm on Pathways now. So because of that book, I'm just gonna go to Pathways and kind of start back over.
You're still on
Yeah, it was a 20
Yes,
minute-
even though I did my icebreaker for my pathways, but I'm still, yeah, doing the books.
got like a year left.
Yeah, it's about, next month or June, it'll be a year left to do that.
Anyone else want to volunteer for anything?
You put me down for the same things. I'll do grammarian and I counter.
Okay.
And you probably do the topics too.
And then if you feel inclined to sign up for something, Easy Speak, it's always running.
What are the topics for speaking?
So for like a prepared speech, it's so once you become a member, you'll be entered into the base camp system, and then you take kind of an evaluation, kind of like a personality test in a way, and then it'll give you some recommended paths, and then you pick one, and then they have like a whole course. So you do like your icebreaker, and then a research speech, and then, but they're all like tailored to different. So I'm doing, I always forget my path, innovative
Planning.
I think, or something like that. And but there's like a humor one or leadership, different things, whatever you're trying to kind of get out of
Yes,
the program.
yes.
But if, we can talk after the meeting if you're interested in maybe signing up and getting more information. Any other questions or remarks? All right, thank you everyone. Great meeting.